now tuned in to the Storm Tracker podcast.
Welcome back, family, to the Storm Tracker podcast. Marcus Benjamin here, representing for CanesCounty.com, part of the Rivals.com network. Make sure you subscribe to the website, CanesCounty.com, for free. Use the promo code Miami30. Also, subscribe to this YouTube channel, live from Canes County. And it's that time of the year where we're going to look at official visitors who will officially visit Miami this weekend, as well as many prospects around the country will be officially visiting colleges, and to break down a lot of the recruits that will be visiting in the next couple of weeks, I've got Larry Blustein, longtime South Florida reporter representing for Prep Red Zone, Florida, to really kind of break it all down for us here on a Blu Monday. How's it going today, Blu?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Marcus. Appreciate it. Long spring. Just wrapped up. You and I took in the very last event of spring, Miami Central's intra-squad game, and had an opportunity to see what Coach Derek Gibson, the first-year head coach, is going to bring to the table. So, it's a lot of colleges had an opportunity. We were very fortunate to have gone throughout much of the state. Saw 38 different schools, north, south, and also central. So, and run into a lot of college coaches, who, told us, how difficult things have become with the portal, the NIL deals, the uncertainty of having kids for really more than 1 year. And, as well as I do, there's, just a few years ago, you could go into any office, whether it be Miami or USC or Oklahoma, and they'd have their big board of players that, that they wanted to have. And, it's been altered quite a bit, because now not only do you have to look for, future classes, but you have to kind of make sure that your own class is secure for the following year. You used to say, well, I have, Jimmy for 3 years. But not so much anymore. So it's made recruiting, hard in many ways. A lot of the college coaches will tell you, it's they're trying to keep up with the changes, but it's never easy. But and as well as I do, is if you followed Miami, and you and I sit in the press box year after year after year, looking at a lot of this talent and saying, hey, listen. Look at how much the roster's changed from last year. Look how much changed from last year. Look at how much changed from last year. And all of a sudden you're in a 3-year cycle of saying that. And, you look at Miami when this regime took over, and then look at what's left of that. It looks like an implosion. But that's what needed to be done, at all positions, even coaching. To get it to the point where it's at. And I'm sure if you ask Mario Cristobal right now, he's still nowhere near where he wants to be.
Yeah, year after year, this roster has continued to evolve. I believe in the right direction. They're getting closer to their early 2000s Miami Hurricanes. I don't think they're quite there yet, but they are definitely well on their way, Blu. And yesterday, they added another commit to the 2026 class, Rhys Woodrow, a talented kid from Orlando. I know you've been around the state. You probably saw him in person as well. What are your thoughts on Rhys Woodrow and Miami adding him to the 2026 class?
Yeah, well, that's somebody that's in our sweet spot, because he was at our Prep Red Zone camp in January. At Orlando Boone, where he's from, and Coach Andy Johnson and I were talking about him and, what type of future he has. And he thought he was really, really good. And Andy's been around for a long, long time. And I think he was really optimistic, obviously, because Andy's son is a quarterback. So he wanted to find someone that's going to be, watching out for his back. And this is a guy that is going to come in and he's going to learn a lot. I mean, he's got Mario Cristobal, as a head coach who is hands-on, and you know that as far as the position coach. And then you have Alex Mirabal, who's highly regarded around the country. So somebody like Rhys will come in, and he's going to learn technically, just like right now, Campbell is, and certainly Buchanan from Sanford Seminole, guys who just joined the program this year, in this class that's on campus now. He's going to go through that same thing when he gets on campus and be part of that learning. But yeah, he's a guy that he's like an open book, and I think he's physically somebody that Miami really, can benefit from.
Yeah, definitely. I think he a lot of upside. I think Woodrow's got plenty of potential. Mirabal can definitely kind of groom and mold into, one of his guys that can be a contributor on the offensive line class here in 2026. Obviously, they've got the 5-star in Jackson Cantwell. They got Joel Irvin from the West Coast, Florida, Marks from Bowles out in Jacksonville. It's yeah, so you got just plenty of talent already. You already got five total guys on this offensive line, but there's plenty other talent out there that Miami is looking to add to this offensive line class, which I think this is probably the best offensive line class that we've seen in Florida in probably many years. I'd love to get your opinion on that, but Miami's still looking at Ryan Miret, obviously a talent here in South Florida that Coach Mirabal, the offensive line coach, does like. And then you got Carr, Carr out there in IMG, along with Breck Kolojay as well from IMG that Miami is interested in, as well as Canon Pickett as well. So my question is like, you already got 5 guys, but you got at least 4 guys I just named that Miami's really high on. Which one of these guys that are out there with Miret, Carr, Kolojay, Pickett, do you think are must-gets to add to this 2026 class, offensive line class?
Well, the thing with Ryan Miret, and he was, and as I said, Mirabal was at his spring game and stayed for both halves against Daytona Beach Mainland and Delray Beach Atlantic. A kid is playing center right now. Obviously, Miami has a couple of centers, Buchanan, who could also play guard. SJ, who's another kid from Bishop Gorman, who a lot of people like a lot. But Ryan is very athletic. He's a wrestler, state championship wrestler. The kid's got no body fat, so he's going to get in the 315, 320 range, pretty much over the first 2 years. Pickett's another one, plays for a really, really good program in Tampa Bay Tech. A lineage that obviously has played at Miami with the Pickett family. Extremely strong, somebody who I think is, a great athlete. He's proven it. And, that's the one thing too, Marcus, here in 2025, the difference, let's say over 10 years is the offensive linemen that are coming in are a lot more athletic. They're not, it used to be to have them as big as you could get them, but that's not so much the fact. You look at guys like Kolojay, and you look at guys like Carr and certainly Ryan Miret, and these are guys who aren't fat at all. I mean, especially Ryan. Ryan, being a wrestler and being in that type of cardio shape, he's pretty trimmed down. If you look at him, I mean, he's a big kid, but he's that's the wave of the future. You look in the NFL. I mean, you look at some of the NFL drafts, this past year. A lot of these guys aren't fat. These guys are big boys, carry a lot of cardio with them because they know, and that's the direction that the offensive linemen are going to. And as you mentioned, You said you have a bunch of kids, but you're going to lose quite a few of them this coming year. You're going to lose Mawanoa. You're going to lose Bell. You're going to probably lose, Okunlola, who just graduated in 2.5 years. Congratulations to him. You're going to start losing a lot. You're going to lose your center, who you've had for just 1 year. So Miami's going to sweep a little bit out, and they're going to need these guys that are in there now to kind of step up, and then the guys that you and I are talking about to come in and be their position. So Miami has that little assembly line of talent, and there's no doubt that Miami's a top 5 offensive line in the nation right now, and they're only adding to it, with the addition of some of these other faces. But yeah, you're right. And then you look at the kid Jackson. He's a stud. I mean, what else are you going to say? Yeah. He's like Mawano. He's a plug and play type of kid, elite type of football talent. Somebody who's come in there and he's a shot put state champion, national record holder. The kid is just, and you look at him, he's 6'7" .25", and you look at, and he's well over 300 pounds. But if you look at him, he doesn't look it because he's not. He's not blubbery fat. He's muscle tone. He's great cardio guy. So, yeah, Miami's on the right track. And you build your fortress first, offensively and defensively. Yeah. And, you and I have talked, on previous podcasts about the defensive line and, how strong they are, with the Bain and guys like, Messidor coming back. And then they're building right behind that, the kid Scott, who had a great first year last year. I mean, he's one of those guys that's going to be the next big time type of kid. So yeah, what Miami's doing, Marcus, is taking care of that offense and defensive line, especially now in this cycle with that offensive line, to ensure that their quarterback of the future will have that time. Their running game will have those holes to go through. So, and that's how you build. That's how you build successful teams. You look at the Ohio States, you look at, the Alabamas and the LSUs and the Georgias, and the success that they have starts up front on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely great insight from Larry Blustein joining me here on the Storm Tracker podcast, representing for Prep Red Zone, Florida. Let's talk a little bit about the receivers, though, Blue, because Miami, South Florida in general, definitely no shortage at the position, and that's no different here in the 2026 class. I'm going to throw a couple of names at you that Miami are interested in for this wide receiver class, and just kind of want to get your opinion on which one of these guys you think are must-gets. One, I'll start with Calvin Russell. I mean, he is definitely talented player, played quarterback for a while for Northwestern, is an outstanding basketball player as well. He's being recruited by schools for both sports and also Miami as well. Miami's kind of jumped in as far as recruiting him as a basketball player as well. Of course, his mother, one of the best women's basketball players for the University of Miami. And then you got Xavier Restrepo 2.0 and Jasen Lopez. This guy, super talented, maybe more talented than Xavier Restrepo was now in his high school career. And then you got Somourian Wingo out in St. Augustine, who was also really talented player. Coach Kevin Beard really high on him as well. Out of those three guys that I just kind of named here, which one do you think is really kind of a must get, or which one of these talents really kind of impresses you the most?
Another good sweet spot question, because I saw all of them in the last 3 weeks. When I was up at St. Augustine, and I got a chance to see St. Augustine and Tecoy Creek and some of the schools up in that area. Wingo's a beast. I mean, he's a great athlete. He's got great hands, runs tremendous patterns. He's a really good kid. I had, about a 10, 15-minute conversation with him, when he was cooling down on the outside. He's a guy that stretches the defenses a little bit. He's got some speed. He runs really good patterns. He gets wide open, and he's a bigger type of kid. He's a more physical type of kid. Let's go with Xavier Restrepo 2.0, J-Rock. between he and Russell, they'll drop 30 points on you on the basketball court in no time. And let's fast back to last year's game against American Heritage when he played against a kid that was being in Thomas, who was one of the highly regarded defensive backs in the nation, ended up at Florida State where he caught 12 balls for 225 yards and got in the end zone two times in the game. He's a guy, as you said, more athletic than Restrepo. He probably doesn't have to run the patterns that Restrepo does. He's a little bit quicker. The kid's he's one of the guys in street clothes that you will look at and you go, he looks like he's a science and good in science or good in math. Don't look at him and say, hey, wow, this guy's one of the – he's got great hands. He's a mismatch because he knows how to catch the ball. He goes up and catches that ball at the highest point. He'll abuse anybody. I don't care who they are. You could throw a 5-star cornerback or at him, and he'll end up winning the war because he's a great athlete, knows how to get open. He makes crazy-ass catches. I mean, he doesn't make – because of his basketball skills, he's used to using his hands. So, obviously, like Russell, who is 6'5", which is a little bit different, J-Rock's barely 5'10". But in his game is not predicated on how big he is. It's just how smart he is, and he knows how to get open. And I've watched him against everybody. Watched him against 4-star defensive backs, even on his own team last year. In practice. He's really one of those guys that I think that Miami should add. Yeah, you got a kid that just came in this cycle from American Heritage is going to be nuts as far as talent, but you always could use guys like, a Restrepo 2.0, because here's another thing about J-Rock. He can return punts, and that's a guy too, that you don't have to add an extra roster spot. And he knows how to return punts. He's not back there because he has good hands. When he gets the ball, he'll hit the seam. Let's talk about Russell. Russell's a special kid. I mean, what else are you going to say? When you're that big and you're that athletic to, as you said, be highly regarded as a basketball player. So much so that Coach Jay Lucas made sure that, he checked him out a little bit. And as a football player, I mean, as you mentioned, he's versatile enough to know the quarterback position. So he knows what the receiver's thinking at all times and the quarterback. So, yeah, he's like a pitcher that plays catcher. He knows everything about the positions, smart guy, athletic, good team-oriented player, works extremely hard. I mean, when you get a guy like that, I mean, he's got speed. He's got the benefit of having Nick Lennar, who's obviously, if not the best, one of the best in the nation for 2027, in there with him. So he takes a lot of the heat off of him. It's not always going to be a double coverage situation for him. He's sometimes going to get a safety high, and maybe a corner will let him go to the safety, which is his advantage because there's not very many safeties that are going to cover him. Yeah, he's a big time kid and a must get.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see Miami kind of keep Calvin Johnson. Calvin, he kind of plays like Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Calvin Russell, just because he's just such a talented player, and he's from a big time program, obviously in Miami Northwestern, legacy guy. So you'd love to see that type of player really kind of stay home. But a lot of these other schools are very interested in him, including North Carolina, Alabama, and others. So
understandable.
He is. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how that one plays out. Let's switch over to defensive back here. A couple of guys I'll throw at you. Danny Odem from First Academy, and also Devin Jackson as well. These are two players that Miami is definitely interested in at defensive back, and I think they would be really good additions to the 2026 class. And Justice Fitzpatrick, I really can't, not mention him as one of the top priorities at defensive back here in the state of Florida. What's your opinion on those guys?
Yeah, we'll start with Justice, because of the fact that he's played more games than any of them. Started as a freshman. If you remember, against Homestead in the state championship game, he came up with a key interception. As follows in the footstep his brother Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's a stud with the Steelers, played with the Dolphins. Obviously, a kid that can cover a lot of ground. He's got loose hips. He can play corner. He can play safety. He'll hit you a little bit. Just, total package. Great kid, great family, great support. Comes from a tremendous program that, tests him every single day against some quality wide receivers that St. Thomas has had over the last couple of years. So he's kind of got that baptism under fire. And when you come from a program like that, much like Russell, I mean, you're going at it every day. You're not just going at it on Friday nights, when you have that much talent. So you kind of got to earn your stripes in practice before you get to do it, in game conditions. I think that in the kid Odem has great bloodlines. He comes from a football family. Another kid that's a difference maker. Great hips, tremendous ball skills. He's one of those guys that has an opportunity to be really special. And because he's a great football player, much like Jackson, who has learned this game from a young kid and has played against high level competition. And that's why when people talk about kids from around the country and, say, well, yeah, Texas or California, Ohio are better than Florida and blah, blah, blah. The thing that separates a kid from the state of Florida is they get this from the age of 8 years old. The youth programs in Florida are second to none. The only programs that are probably on level with them are the Dallas, area and also LA. But it shows that these guys get it done at a young level. And by the time they get to high school, like Trajan Bandy, excuse me, you look what a tremendous athlete he was coming out of youth football and what an impact he made, right away, as a freshman with Miami. So that's the difference. You get guys like Odem, you get guys like Jackson, you get guys, like Fitzpatrick, and there's others, who are that type of, athlete who not only, been playing like this for a couple of years, but since they were young. And I think that makes a huge difference to be able to jump right in, into at a varsity level as a ninth grader and maintain that throughout their careers. And there's 4 of them or 3 of them right there that have.
Absolutely. Definitely talented young guys. Fitzpatrick, I got to see at St. Thomas's inter-squad game, and he also caught a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
So this guy is just
that helps.
A versatile player. A versatile player. So he just looks the part. He looks pretty. We in the industry like to say, he looks the part, and he seems like he could be a contributor right away, just like OJ Frederick did, who also came from the same program. I think they have very similar skill sets. OJ also played both ways at St. Thomas in his senior year, so would love to see Miami add a Fitzpatrick to their 2026 class. Lastly, we'll talk about a little defensive line. A couple of guys that I like are Asharri Charles. This kid out of Venice, I think, is really talented. Had this chance to see him at the Rivals camp a few weeks back, and he came away with one of the Golden Balls, the honorable mentions at the camp. So really like him. Want to get your take on him. Daniel Norman, I think, is a player that is kind of somewhat under the radar. He is scheduled to take an official visit with Miami this weekend. So I could see him, committing to Miami just because, hometown guy. And I think, it really kind of continues that pipeline from St. Thomas to Miami, as they have in recent years. And then the new transfer from the West Coast of Florida to Miami Northwestern, James Johnson. Another talented kid has been on the campus of the University of Miami in the spring. Had a chance to speak to him. By the way, I did write a story on Daniel Norman. So check that out on canescounty.com. But Blue, those three guys, your opinion on Charles, Johnson, and Norman?
Charles comes from a great program. Didn't play this spring. He in the spring game against Naples. Very talented kid, quick off the ball. Learned a lot, from that program, which has turned out some really, really good talent. Obviously, Miami has a kid, Brantley, now is playing in the defensive secondary, who went to Michigan State, but started out at Venice. Kid's a man-child. He makes plays. He's got long arms, gets off the ball really quick. I like him a lot. The kid Johnson from North Fort Myers, he's such a great athlete. I mean, he before he left North Fort Myers and is coming here, he took part in track. This kid's strong. He's athletic. He's quick off the ball. Everybody likes him. Talked to a lot of coaches from Michigan all the way to Alabama and Miami. What they like about him is the fact that he can dominate. He's strong up top, but he's also quick. He's an agile kid, 270-ish type of player. He's going to fit in really well with Miami, what Northwestern has on that line now, with probably one of the most heralded 2028 kids in Eli Rawls, who came over from Booker T. Washington. But the thing about, a guy like that is he's just a super player that is strong. Takes on the if you're not gonna double team him, then you're kind of wasting your time. But Miami's got a lot of those kids, like as you're watching Charles, against Lake Mary last year in the state championship game, and then obviously the opportunity with Norman, who, as you mentioned, is just, I don't think he's even scratched the surface. A lot of people hadn't talked about him. He's a kid that, that they kind of slide in there, and then all of a sudden, like some of the other players on that team, like the Goodrich brothers. I mean, a lot of people didn't hear much of them, and then all of a sudden, one wins an MVP, at the Under Armour camp, and then the other one is, finishing, among top wrestlers in the state. So, yeah, those are good, really good guys. Miami needs physical kids, and as you mentioned, to get guys from the home area. And I think that this year, you look at a kid like Johnson, what a year he's going to have, lining up on perhaps, if not the best, one of the best teams in the country. Had an opportunity to watch them in the spring. They're absolutely insane how much talent that they have. So much so that Miami commit, and probably one of the more highly regarded linebackers in the country, and Campbell, who actually played in the Under Armour game this past year as a junior, is now playing on an outside linebacker D-end type of role for Northwestern. So some really good talent, and I think that if Johnson gets acclimated to be playing with Campbell, they come in together. That'd be a pretty good little group, to bring in, especially from the same team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about Calvin Russell. Obviously, if they could bring three Miami Northwestern Bulls into this class, it would really be impressive. To get Russell, Johnson, and then of course Campbell, who's already committed to the program. It'd be the first Miami Northwestern player since Cam Kinchens. It would be nice to see Miami continue to build that pipeline from that storied program. Lastly, before I let you go, Blue, you have been around the entire state and then some. So you see a lot of under the radar type of prospects. I think you're probably the king of really kind of identifying under the radar type of prospects. Who have you seen in the past couple of weeks or month or so that really impressed you, that's kind of under the radar, that Miami maybe want to shoot their shot for?
Yeah, well, you talk about talent. There's a lot of young talent. A lot of those 2026 kids have pretty much been identified. But what Miami's now looking for is future kids. We talked about Northwestern, Nick Lanier, who I think is the best wide receiver in the country, perhaps at any class. Miami could get in there. I know Florida and a lot of other schools. I think from the local standpoint, Boyd Anderson has two kids that are just off the charts. One's a defensive end, 6'5", 225 pounds, also playing wide receiver. You got the kid Johnson, who defensive back at Plantation, who Samari Roll, who knows a lot about defensive backs playing in the league, who's coaching over there, told me he's Patrick Peterson all over again.
Wow.
And Miami has already identified him. There's so much talent statewide that Miami's starting to go after. Up at Jacksonville Trinity Christian, they have like 2 or 3 kids that are really, really good. I had an opportunity to stop by Bowles and watch the linemen. They also have a freshman there that's really, really good. So anywhere you look, Miami's very much in it. The very fact that, they're trying to take care of business here locally. When we saw Central the other day, obviously Central and the kid Henry, the kid award number 92, the defensive tackle, he's a freshman. The kid's a beast, an absolute craze. So I'm excited about, what's going to happen. Now we're going to see a lot of these kids over the next month travel to these schools. So Miami's going to be, with all their camps. I know Miami's got a couple of 7-on-7s. They got a line camp coming up. They got a prospect camp coming up, a special teams camp. Miami's in desperate need to get a kicker. I think they'll love the kid from Chaminade, Madonna, who I think will go in, and we've seen him. We've seen him come through at Norland. We've seen him come through. So, I think this summer, over the next 3 weeks, close to a month, are going to tell you how many new faces. And we'll come back in a couple of weeks and we'll tell you about some guys that we've actually, watched up close and personal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited for the different camps that will be at Miami. There's always new talent that kind of emerges from those type of camps. So really, really interested to kind of see what talent emerges. Vernell Brown is kind of one of those talents who kind of emerged from that Miami camp. So I'm excited to see who will emerge there. Larry Blustein, once again, joining me for the Storm Tracker podcast on a Blu Monday. That's going to wrap it up for the Storm Tracker podcast this time around. Blu, where can they find more information that you provide?
Well, we have, as you mentioned, we have Prep Road Zone Florida, where we every single day highlight a team and close to 100 different prospects. We have a really good team scouring the state. Drew Johnson's unbelievable. He goes everywhere. He does a lot of camps for us. Also Shannon Jordan, who works the west coast of Florida. And then obviously we get an opportunity, especially like I said, we highlight a team every day and give you 14 to 20 different prospects with their film every single day. Also, we have my LarryBlustein.com, which highlights a lot of the Dade Broward schools. Today we did something on Matter Academy, with Ice Harris moving over there and a couple of prospects that they have. We'll also highlight Central. We've had an opportunity also to look at Northwestern and some of the other teams like St. Thomas and Chaminade. So, and also some of the other teams who have talent, like a Goldman with T. Bell, is committed right now to FSU, but that may change. You never know. But so there, and then every Monday night, we're on our 560 WQAM radio show. Each week we get you on. We get a lot of the thing that separates us on that show, Marcus, is we go around the entire state and throughout the country with people like yourself who cover these teams. Like we'll have FSU and we'll have Florida and we'll have USF and UCF coverage and FAU and FIU coverage from people who actually are there, like yourself, every day, watching these players and watching these teams. So it gives fans a really good insight, and we love to have them on. And our show coming up this week is going to spotlight baseball. We're going to take a look at, we had more baseball state champions from South Florida, Dayton, Broward than we've ever had before. 5 of the 8 teams, 5 of the 8 classifications won state championships in baseball. Last week we talked to the Joey Wardlow, the head coach at St. Thomas Aquinas. And let me put in this. I don't think that if there was or hasn't been a long time since a high school in the state of Florida won 3 major sports like St. Thomas. They won baseball, they won basketball, and they won football. That doesn't happen very often. And then we also talked to Coach Fitz, who's the godfather at Douglas. They've won 5 straight state titles. They've won 2 national titles over the last 6 years. And they're putting big-time kids into major leagues. The kid Lizardo at pitched for the Marlins for a couple years and now is with the Phillies. So we do that. We try to get the girls covered too. We did the flag football. So it's become a good sports show, but during football season, it'd be hard-pressed not to find, high school players and coaches. And so we're there, and I appreciate you giving us an opportunity to be on with you.
Absolutely. Good stuff from Larry Blustein, the South Florida legendary reporter. Thanks again for joining me today. That's going to wrap it up for the Storm Tracker podcast. Make sure you subscribe to this channel live from Canes County, and also subscribe to the website, canescounty.com, for free. Use the promo code Miami30. Until the next episode.